To address the issues facing Tennesseans today, from 10 News, this is Inside Tennessee.
Good morning and welcome to Inside Tennessee. I'm your moderator, John Becker. We're going to hear from two candidates vying for the Republican spot in the race for an at-large seat on Knox County Commission. But first, we welcome the man leading Knox County schools. He oversees 89 schools, 60,000 students, and more than 7,000 staff members. Superintendent Bob Thomas joining us on this Sunday morning panel. Thank you for being here.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning. Our panel this morning, Don Bosch, who's a Democrat and runs his own law firm.
Good morning, John.
Susan Richardson Williams is a Republican. She runs her own PR firm.
Good morning, John.
John North is the WBIR digital everything man.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mr. Thomas, let's start with big news this week. TN Ready. More trouble there. It's our understanding that the districts themselves will be allowed to decide how much of the grades count against or for students. Do you have a sense from the board yet? I understand it'll be their decision, but would you recommend that be 0 or 15%?
I think at this point, my recommendation, again, it's my personal opinion because there'll be a board discussion, but I really don't believe it ought to count. It should count this year, and let me tell you why. I know our teachers have worked extremely hard all year long preparing our students. I know our students have worked extremely hard preparing for the test, and there's been so many distractions this week with testing, and I'm just not sure that we will have gotten their best effort because to not know if it's going to be able to submit once you complete it, or if you're not going to be able to take it, or you have to postpone it. I just feel like the best effort, we wouldn't see that for this coming year. So, but in terms of testing and relying on the data, we absolutely have to have that because we have to have those benchmarks where we are and where we're trying to go. So we rely on the data. But,
so it puts us behind by failing to count it.
It would, but again, you know, the board will have this conversation, I'm sure, and make that determination. But I just know there's been a lot of frustration across the state with superintendents and also parents very frustrated too. So.
Let's move to the budget, because this is another issue that's made headlines, specifically Knox County's budget and your recommendation to cut a couple of popular programs. That will be the board's decision, but have you reconsidered your thoughts on cutting Project Grad and magnet school programs for certain schools?
Well, we're still waiting on the estimate, our first BEP revenue estimate from the state of Tennessee. I thought maybe we might have it by this week, and maybe we still will get it, but tomorrow I don't know. But in terms of the revenue, we need a little bit clearer picture there. We've done our estimates, but also know with the formula, when it's tweaked, it can make a huge difference in terms of the revenue. So have I reconsidered? I met with Project Grad and officials on 3 different occasions, and the last, I had asked the Project Grad staff to take a look at the budget. We spend about, this year we spent about $1,040,000 on Project Grad. I asked them to take a look at the budget, and what if you just focused at the secondary level with the 2 high schools? What could you come back with in terms of maybe a reduced cost to provide a program there? And they did come back. It was about a $50,000 reduction, which was $900 and something thousand, which I said, I just can't recommend that. You please take another look at it and see if you can get it down even further. And the next day, I was told, no, we can't get it down any further. We feel like with the integrity of the program, that it needs to be the number we've given you. However, we did get another estimate, a revised estimate, I guess, from Project Grad, and they reduced it to $500,000. So that's worth, I think, taking another look at. The program it does provide services to students that we don't provide as a school district, so I think there is value in the program for what it provides for underserved students. So I'm willing to take another look at it and look at it in conjunction with a revenue estimate that we get.
Are you worried about the optics of this, and really beyond that, potential federal litigation, Title IX litigation, when you're funding essentially a new affluent middle school in Hardin Valley and cutting 2 inner city, relatively impoverished area programs that have been very successful? I mean, has the county law department or anybody spoken with you and your administration about this could really cause us some long-term legal problems?
No, I've not spoken with anyone in the law department about it, but in terms of dollars, even though there's a reduction in these programs, we would actually be spending $600,000 more in these project grad schools next year than we're spending this year. We're already spending $6 million in project grad schools over and above staffing formula like for a school that's not an underserved school.
So you don't think that you're opening yourself up for litigation,
well,
federal litigation?
That I don't know. I know we're spending about $600,000 more, so it would be $6,600,000, and it's about 75 positions in these 14 schools that we're funding. So let me tell you where I'm coming from on this, and Project Grad, you know, is a great program. It's nothing against Project Grad, and we made $3 million worth of budget cuts actually before we even got to Project Grad and Magnet. The expenditures looked like they were coming in about $15.1 million, revenue about $12 million. So we had to make reductions. So what I looked at and what I am about, and I went through this process last year, increased student achievement. You know, looking at reading proficiency, and you know, as a district, we tested in elementary schools 13,800 students, and 5,500. Roughly 40% of those are proficient, but guess what? 8,300 are not proficient. 60% of our students not proficient in reading.
Is that why you wrote not significantly impacting student achievement in referencing that in your recommendation to the board?
It is, because look, just looking at the elementary, we have CUSP schools. Let me define what a CUSP school is. The state looks at academic achievement, and the bottom 10% of the schools are placed as priority or CUSP schools. So we have 6 of those schools that are CUSP schools, and I don't want Knox County to be in the bottom 10%. And I want us to do everything we can to prevent that. But when we looked at test results in our CUSP and our 4 elementary schools, we tested 921 students. 818 of them were not proficient. So 89% of the students we tested not proficient. I'm very enthusiastic. I love the community involvement. I was a little disheartened by the fact that, hey, what can we do to improve these reading scores at literacy? Because if we're ever going to move this district forward, we're going to have to make a difference in reading and proficiency, and it's tied to the ACT test. If you look at one of our high schools with the highest ACT test, 24.1, and if you look at the various areas across the board that are testing, math, English, reading, and science, those students, I think out of 132 students tested, 86% of those students tested proficient in reading. 90% tested proficient in English. So it's the key, science and math. We're just going to have to improve reading scores to move this district.
We've got to take a quick break. Susan will lead us off in the next block. Please stay with us here on Inside Tennessee.